Hey guys, tonight we drop you right into the grit of ancient Rome. Imagine it. The smell of old blood and dry sand. The screech of rusty iron gates. Whatever you did or didn't do before this moment, it no longer matters. You belong to the Ludus now. The Gladiator school. You glance back and catch the dull gaze of a man with more scars than hair. A wooden staff in one hand and a sneer stretched across his face. You're Lanista, the trainer. He does not ask your name. He does not care. He points the staff and barks a command you barely understand, but the meaning is clear. Up now or else. You think you were a messenger or maybe a pickpocket. It feels like another life already. Not to restrain you, to train you. Iron weights strapped to your limbs so that every swing, every step becomes a struggle. You try to hold it up, but your wrist complains loudly. The veteran next to you laughs. His nose has clearly been broken 3 times, maybe 4. He points at your grip and shakes his head, then mimics the right one. You try again. Slightly better. Recruits were trained not only in fighting, but in how to fall, how to endure pain, and how to entertain. You are not just a warrior. You are a walking spectacle. A prop in Rome's favorite blood-soaked soap opera. Welcome to the first workout of your new life. A day at the gym, if the gym also kicked you in the ribs every hour. He doesn't speak. Just watches quietly. Some scrolls suggest a slow build. Others imply the cruelty started immediately. You're inclined to believe the latter. Your ribs ache in agreement. You're not sure if you'll be able to move in the morning, but the gates will open again. The Lanista will shout again, and you will rise. Or be dragged. Again, 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 until your shoulders burn like they're on fire and your hands are raw from splinters. You wonder if it's supposed to hurt this much. Spoiler, yes. It is. Tastes like it sat in the sun too long. Still, you drink it like it's liquid gold. Someone nearby vomits. You try not to follow their lead. Like a man who knows how many newcomers cry on the first day. You squint, shielding your eyes, and realize the training ground is a rough rectangle of packed dirt, splintered wood targets, and weapon racks filled with practice swords. And there's shouting. So much shouting. Every order from the Lanista is barked like he's trying to break your bones through volume alone. Or as your sore neck already knows, the Roman Empire's version of a meat grinder with marketing. The heat clinging to stone walls like an unwelcome second skin. Someone hums a slow, tuneless melody. Maybe it's a lullaby. Maybe it's just madness. You're waking up on the cold floor of a holding cell under the Colosseum, your wrists raw from the iron shackles that kept you twisted in place all night. No bed, no blanket. Just you, the stink of 50 sweating bodies, and a rat chewing something suspicious in the corner. The corridor reeks of sweat, smoke, and metal. You walk it barefoot, your solace already collecting grime and splinters. The walls are pocked with old blood stains. One spot is darker than the rest. You look away. You probably won't survive this. Your head throbs. Not just from the bruising knock they gave you when they tossed you in here, but from the crushing truth that you are no longer a free person. You try to stand, but your legs wobble like boiled reeds. Someone grunts behind you. The cell gate creaks open with a screech that claws down your spine. A figure steps in. Bare arms like tree trunks. You stumble into a line of equally dazed souls, some still blinking at the sun they haven't seen in days. Out in the yard, the sun hits you like a slap. A fellow recruit next to you mutters something about being a baker last week. You nod weakly, and then they bring out the chains. You're handed a Rudy's, a wooden training sword. It feels heavier than it looks. The Lanista smacks your thigh with his staff to tell you it's not good enough. You'll get a lot of those today. You swing the sword. You miss. You swing again. Your foot slips. Mainstream historians agree that Roman gladiator schools were incredibly strict, structured, and brutal. Quirkier sources claim that some Lannister made bets on which recruits would throw up first during drills. You do not want to be that recruit. Your legs buckle around midday. You're given water from a shared ladle. You keep going, because there is no other choice. By evening, you're back in your cell. Every muscle trembles. You sit with your back to the wall, watching shadows stretch across the floor. Historians still argue whether first-day recruits were ever allowed a night of rest before real combat training began. You stare at the ceiling. Your wrists throb. You let your eyes close, just a little, because sleep is the only escape you're allowed. You wake to the sound of iron against iron. The chains rattle as someone kicks your leg. Your body aches in protest, but it does not matter. The sun has not yet crested the edge of the walls, but your training waits for no sunrise. You are hauled up with the others and pushed toward the yard. This time, there is no disorientation, only dread. The air is cooler now, but still thick with dust and the scent of old sweat. You are handed the same wooden rudies. The handle is sticky from yesterday's grip. You are told to move like a dancer, but without grace and with armor. Sidestep, lunge, retreat. Pain is a persuasive teacher. You are told to run the perimeter of the yard. Your throat is raw from breathing dust. You reach the finish and collapse onto your knees. You learn that the hard way. Your log rolls away and you briefly consider crawling after it, just to avoid another lap. You hold it up. It drops. You lift again. You brace. You learn to absorb blows, not avoid them. Twice, if you drop the log, you restart. Someone ahead of you collapses. The Lanista steps over him. He pushes your stance into place, shifts your grip, and tells you to breathe. You thank him silently, again, faster, again, until your legs feel like 2 sacks of wheat tied to a donkey. You try to focus. You try not to think about the fact that your left shoulder has stopped responding. The Lanista does not care. He wants movement, precision, obedience. Some say it was a test of character. Others believe it was just efficient cruelty. You nearly fall, but catch yourself. You block. The shield holds, barely. One by one, you must step into the center and demonstrate 3 moves. The Lanista watches, so does the medic. And so do the other gladiators, silently evaluating whether you might be worth betting on, or whether you're just more meat for the arena floor. The sun dips low. The gates creak again. Back into the cell you go, shuffling past the boy from earlier. He nods. You nod back. That is as close to friendship as you can afford. You lean toward the second theory as you wipe sand from your swollen eyelid. The shield decides if you live long enough to use it. You try to believe him, but the shield feels more like a punishment than protection. It was less about brute force and more about rhythm, endurance, and split-second decision-making. Maybe that was meant as a joke. Maybe it was just honest feedback. Some trained for months before they ever saw a real blade. Others days, you smell like a dead goat. You taste copper in your mouth. You miss your old life, even if it was just sweeping floors or stealing fruit. Today begins with footwork, not fighting, not shouting, just you and the sand. When someone drops their weapon, they get a strike to the back. You wonder if it hurts more than your pride. The Lanista carries a small cane today, not to support himself, but to whack your calves whenever your feet forget their place. You learn quickly. After an hour, you're split into pairs. The veteran from yesterday is not your partner this time. Instead, a boy barely 16. His eyes are too wide and his blade trembles as he lifts it. You catch each other's eyes. No words are needed. You both know what this is, practice, but also survival. You take turns striking and blocking, slowly, repeatedly. The Lanista circles like a bored hawk. Historians agree that these exercises, called disciplina, were key to a gladiator's survival. You are not sure which group you belong to. As the sun climbs higher, the drills escalate. Now it's time for full body training. Wooden logs are set across your shoulders. You run, your feet slip, you run anyway. A bowl of water is passed around. You sip carefully. Too much, too fast, and it will come back up. A grizzled man named Felix leans over and mutters that this part is still the easy bit. You laugh until you realize he is serious. Now comes shield training. Your arms already feel like cooked noodles, but here comes a 30-pound slab of wood and iron. The lanista has a favorite phrase. You hear it often: the sword kills. An older gladiator named Marius takes pity on you and shows you how to use your body like a wall. By late afternoon, the sand is stained with blood from cracked lips, split palms, and one nasty toe injury that no one wants to talk about. A quirky tidbit floats through your brain. Some ancient graffiti found in Pompeii shows crude drawings of gladiators with speech bubbles calling each other cowards. Historians still argue whether the early training was meant to break your body or your spirit first. The final drill is the circle. All recruits form a ring. When your turn comes, you stumble forward. You raise the sword. You strike. You spin. Silence. Then a grunt of acceptance. You're waved off. You did not shine, but you did not fail. And for now, that is enough. You collapse onto the edge of the yard, your hands shaking. You curl onto the stone floor and try not to think of tomorrow. You are roused again before sunrise, this time not by a boot to the ribs, but by the scent of something boiling. A sharp, sour tang hits your nose and you cough. Breakfast, if it can be called that, is already being ladled out into wooden bowls in the corridor. You line up, still half asleep, barely feeling your feet beneath you. A large slave with a crooked back shoves a bowl into your hands. Inside, you see a thick beige paste that sloshes when you tilt it. It smells faintly of wet bread and something fishy. You lift a spoonful to your mouth. It tastes like ground-up cardboard with a dash of vinegar. No one talks during meals. Not because it's forbidden, but because talking takes effort, and effort is in short supply. But also about wearing armor for the first time. Then the greaves metal shin guards that don't fit quite right. They clink with every step. A battered helmet follows. You place it on your head, the same side steps, lunges, blocks, and swings, only now with 30 extra pounds strapped to your aching limbs. Everything feels slower, louder. Your breathing echoes inside your helmet like a dying animal. And instantly feel your neck complain. It's too heavy. The visor is too narrow. The air inside smells like old leather and panic. What's certain is that right now, you are learning what it feels like to be a walking anvil. You get a small round of coarse bread to mop up the leftover mush. You try to remember your footwork. You swing, but it glances off his shield. He counters hard. Your arm stings. You reset. You chew a piece of dried fig. It tastes like dirt and sugar. A rare treat. Didn't make it to the gate. Took 5 steps. Collapse from hunger. You nod, unsure whether it's a warning or a bedtime tale. Your body feels oddly light, like the world has suddenly become easier to walk through. You know this feeling won't last. Tomorrow, they will add more weight, more drills. You learn to move with the weight, not against it. Maybe a slice of boiled onion if the cook feels generous. Once the break ends, you're marched to the perimeter for another run, this time carrying your shield. Your legs feel hollow. Your breath comes in rasps. Still, you move. Because stopping means being noticed, and being noticed means pain. You grip your wooden sword and brace behind your shield. The first clash rings loud enough to make your ears buzz. Your fingers go numb. Ancient Roman medicine was a mix of folk wisdom and sheer stubbornness. Some treatments worked, others just smelled awful. The armor rubs raw at your collarbones and underarms. Sweat pools inside your boots. No wine. Only tepid water from a clay jug passed around. You sip slowly, trying not to think about how many other mouths touch the rim. This, as it turns out, is your new diet. Gladiators were known as horduri, which translates roughly to barley men, because they ate enormous amounts of barley mash, a mix of iron rot and whatever passed for detergent back then. You lie down for 5 minutes while the others take their turn. Someone has a nosebleed. Someone else is curled on the ground, moaning. Not steak, not exotic game. Just a thick, dense porridge meant to build muscle and endurance, not to light the tongue. You sit in a crouch on the stone floor, surrounded by others chewing silently. Your stomach grumbles. Oddly, it wants more. Not because it enjoyed what it got, but because hunger has stopped being picky. Eat more if you can. Your body will betray you if you don't. You nod. He's missing 2 front teeth, but his advice is solid. Some historical records describe gladiator diets as surprisingly well-balanced for the time. High in carbs, moderate in fat, and almost no meat. A fringe theory once suggested they also consumed ash mixed with vinegar to promote bone strength. You don't know if that's true, but you spot a dusty bowl on a side shelf filled with something gray, and suddenly it doesn't seem so far-fetched. Felix, the grizzled one, finishes his bowl and wipes his mouth with a sleeve. After the meal, the lanista barks orders again. Back to the yard. Today is about endurance. Again, you're handed a leather tunic that smells like dried sweat and oil. It sticks to your skin. You and the others are lined up and marched in a circle for over an hour. Then come the drills. Historians still argue whether gladiators trained in full gear daily or only occasionally to preserve stamina. The lanista calls for sparring. You are paired again, this time with Marius. He nods at you. You press forward. By midday, your armor is soaked through. The smell is incredible. A medic appears. You expect water. Instead, he rubs crushed herbs on the sorest joints and pours watered wine over a bleeding knee. You're given a short break. The sun is now directly overhead. Felix tells a story about a former recruit who tried to escape. There is no free time. No siesta. As the sun begins to lower, the armor is removed and stacked in piles. But for now, you are allowed to sit. Not rest, just sit. And think about the evening meal. More barley. You look down at your hands, blistered, dirty, but still yours. For now. The day begins with a loud clang of a gong. It rings through the stone halls like a warning. Your eyes snap open, your body unsure if it actually slept. Instead of the usual barked commands, a quiet line forms outside the cell. A slave with a razor and a bowl of water is already waiting. It feels like losing something you did not realize mattered. Another part of yourself gone, no mirror is provided. You reach up and feel the roughness of bare skin. Cold, unfamiliar. You sit, and without a word, he begins shaving your head. It is cleaner than the one you wore yesterday, but only barely. You put it on. The cloth clings to your still damp skin. One of many. Interchangeable. Replaceable. The lanista calls it efficiency. You call it erasure. You smell the hot iron before you see it. The room is dark. A single brazier glows in the corner. The iron rod lies across it, heating silently. You grit your teeth. The pain is white and instant, like your nerves are trying to claw their way out. The smell of burnt flesh fills your nose. You nearly gag. The mark is small, but permanent. It identifies you as property of the Litis. On your wrist, a small leather tag is tied. You do not know which symbol they burned into you. You only know that it still sizzles. The medic slaps a cloth over it, then waves you away. Your new name, your number, your status, your weight, your height. You are measured, ranked, recorded. As if they are letting the brand sink into your soul. You feel the heat of it even when the wind picks up. You walk with a slight limp. You choose not to decide. You simply chew your barley mash and try to pretend the pain in your arm is fading. But because today, you all lost something. Not just hair or names, but whatever was left of your old selves. Not from injury, but from unease. Today is about standing, marching, and being watched. A magistrate visits. He wears fine robes and smells like lavender oil. He inspects you like livestock. At one point, he lifts your arm and presses your bicep. He nods. You are not sure if that's good or bad. A number burned into it. No name. Renaming and branding made them easier to manage and harder to relate to. This was a system built on detachment. You are not supposed to remember the name of a dying man in the arena. You are now a line in someone's ledger, a statistic waiting for a blood-soaked column to be updated. Just whether he fought well. He speaks. His voice cracks like he has not used it in days. He tells you his name, his real name. You do not share yours. Not yet. You're not sure it exists anymore. The blade is dull. It scrapes, pulls, nicks. Tiny drops of blood trail down your neck. You flinch. The slave does not react. He has done this before. The guards gesture with their spears, not their fists. You join the line, still holding your side where yesterday's shield drill left a bruise. You sit up slowly, every joint stiff, every muscle sore. The familiar chill of the stone floor greets your spine once again. Today is different. There is a sense of ceremony in the air. At the end of the corridor, you are led to a low stone bench. Your hair falls in clumps, collecting in the cracks of the floor. After the shaving, another slave hands you a tunic. You are no longer whoever you were. You are this number now. A row of recruits stands in silence. Some stare at the floor. Others look ahead blankly. You meet eyes with the boy from earlier. His head is shaved too. He shrugs, like this is just one more indignity among many. You nod, a silent pact of shared misery. Historians note that gladiators were stripped of identity as part of their training. The next stop is the branding room. You didn't know this part was coming. No one talks about it. You do not scream when it touches your arm. A fringe historical account suggests some schools use different symbols for different classes of fighter. After the branding, you are given ointment. It stings worse than the burn. The afternoon is spent in silence. You are not given weapons. He whispers something to the lanista and walks away. The lanista laughs. You do not. Later, you are lined up again. A scribe arrives and begins calling out names. Not your real name. This is the moment where the system swallows you completely. The rest of the day is oddly calm. No drills, no sparring, just silence. The boy with the wide eye sits beside you at dinner. Historians still argue whether friendships among gladiators were common or discouraged. Some claim bonds helped them survive. Others argue that closeness only made the losses worse. As night falls, the cell is quiet. The shaved heads reflect the dim torchlight like polished stones. No one speaks. Not because of fear. You lie down slowly. The stone feels colder tonight. Or maybe you just feel more naked. The next morning arrives with less surprise. You are already half awake when the guards come, your eyes adjusted to the rhythm of this new life. You stretch cautiously, testing each limb like it might fall off. Everything is sore, but still functional. A small mercy. Today is weapons training. Not the blunt practice of swinging sticks or carrying logs. Today, they bring out real blades. Blunted edges, yes, but still metal, still heavy, still dangerous. You are called out into the yard with the others, where a selection of weapons lies arranged in the dirt like a butcher's display. You swing again, and your blade glances off his arm. He grins. It was not friendly. You step forward, trying to remember everything Marius taught you. Leave with the shield. Keep your stance tight. Do not overreach. Before you hit the ground, he grabs your arm and steadies you. The gladius is an iron snake trying to slither from your grip. But you keep going. The lanista walks past each pile, explaining names and stances. And don't flinch when the blade gets close. That's when they get you. A man with a tattoo of a wolf across his neck. He fights wild. Sloppy, but fast. He swings like he's trying to cut down a tree. You learn quickly to keep your shield high and your movements tighter. His shield thuds into yours with a force that nearly knocks you over. You eat it silently, your arms trembling with fatigue. No one jokes today. The weight of real weapons has shifted something in the group. You have crossed a threshold. He pulls back and swings the gladius toward your side. You block, barely. The ring of metal on metal sings through your ears. Your fingers vibrate with the impact. By the end, your arm feels like it belongs to someone else. You can barely raise it. One story tells of a dummy named Nero's Shame that trainees would stab with special glee, the smell of iron and fear. You are too tired to decide. Taken to a medic, someone says, a cut too deep from a careless swing. He will live, maybe. He rarely praises, but when he claps twice at your block in Counter-Strike, your heart jumps. Not joy, just relief. There's the gladius, short and thick, meant for stabbing in tight spaces. Today, you held a blade. Today, you survived it. The trident, long and awkward, often paired with a net. Or worse, disrespect. The curved sika used by the Thracian-style fighters. You do not get to choose. Not in the center, but it sticks. That is enough for now. You are assigned a style based on your body type and size. Targets. You are given throwing spears. They are heavy, unbalanced, and clearly reused. The tips are dulled, but still sharp enough to draw blood. What is clear is that accuracy was trained, even if it rarely mattered to the crowd. You are handed a gladius and a large rectangular shield. A real match was theater and slaughter in equal measure. The weight feels familiar, but this time there is no wooden substitute. This is iron. This is war rehearsed. Your opponent is Felix. His face is impassive. He raises his shield and waits. The lanista gives a curt nod. Felix moves fast for someone his age. You reset. You swing. He parries. Historians note that gladiators trained in pairs under close supervision, perfecting techniques that looked brutal but were designed to extend the spectacle. You take a breath. You lunge. Felix steps aside and knocks your shield away. You stumble, your feet slipping in the sand. Again, he says, not unkindly. So you do again and again, until the sun is high and your arms no longer respond. Your shield feels like it is filled with lead. During a brief break, Marius passes by and tosses you a piece of salted fig. Keep your knees bent more, he says. You nod and chew, grateful for both advice and sugar. Then it's back to sparring, this time with someone new. The lanista walks through the yard, occasionally barking corrections or smacking someone with his staff. Quirky anecdotes from Roman scrolls mention that some gladiators trained with wooden dummies filled with sand or straw, named after famous enemies. Your hands blister again. The wraps do little to protect you. Blood mixes with sweat and sand. Still you hold the weapon. Because dropping it means punishment. Lunch is late and plain. More barley. After the meal, the lanista gathers you near the fence and points to a row of tall wooden boards. You hurl one. It lands short. You try again, closer. The third hits the board with a satisfying thunk. Historians still argue whether throwing weapons were core to all gladiator types or just specific classes. You are made to throw again and again. Evening falls. The weapons are gathered and mocked away. You are told to sit and reflect. Reflect on what? The pain, the technique. Back in the cell, the boy with wide eyes is missing. You lie down slowly, pressing your bruised fingers to your chest. By now, the morning routine feels almost automatic. You wake, you eat, you limp to the yard. Your arms remember the weight of the shield before you even touch it. Not chatter, not jokes. Just basic communication. The reason is simple: coordination. Gladiators sometimes fought in pairs or groups. That meant learning to move as a team, to signal without fumbling, to trust someone else not to stab you by accident. Or worse, on purpose. Your back aches in the same places at the same times. Even the bruises begin to fade into familiarity. Some believe it was extensive, mirroring Roman legion drills. If one person lags, the group stumbles. Gaius is too slow. He gets a staff across the ribs. You take turns blocking while the others simulate attacks from different directions. You are not allowed to strike. Only defend. The goal is awareness. You help him up. No one says anything, but it's a gesture he won't forget. You now understand the sentiment. It feels less like fighting, more like desperate choreography. And mutters, "If we go in together, watch my right." I swing wide. It is not a warning, it is a promise. A pact. Others argue it was minimal, just enough to make a match look coordinated. You don't care. All you know is that your thighs hurt and Remus keeps stepping on your foot. So is the man with the wolf tattoo, whose name you now learn is Remus. Until the sun begins to drop and your group is told to sit. You think of the stick jabbing your shin, of Felix's nod, of the moment Remus covered your blind side during the drill. You only know that today you are not alone. And tomorrow, when the gates open again, you will not step forward as a number. You will stand with 4 others, bruised, yes, but a unit. The Lanista circles, then speaks. He calls out names. Praise is rare, but he pauses at yours, the crowd, the smell. He says the moment the gate opened, he forgot everything he had learned, except how to survive, and more like a bunker, shared, not comfortable, but less lonely. Gaius sits near you. Remus sharpens a stick with a rock, even though weapons are forbidden inside. Says your stance was steady, your timing better. He moves on before you can process the words, but inside something stirs. Not pride, just proof. You are not a corpse in waiting, not yet. The young boy returns, a stitched gash above his brow, but otherwise intact, a sliver of dried meat as a reward. You eat slowly, letting the salt soak into your cracked lips. His name is Gaius. You share your name at last. Not your number, your name. And for a brief moment, you feel like yourself again. But today, the Lanista announces something new. You will be allowed to speak with the other trainees. He nods when spoken to, but rarely answers. Still, he moves well, solid, reliable. Some accounts speak of betrayal, sabotage, even poison. Others recall final words whispered between dying brothers in arms. You are grouped with 4 others. Marius is one. The Lanista walks past, jabbing at gaps with a stick. If it slips between your shields, he wraps your shin, hard. You wince. So does everyone else. The stick finds everyone, eventually. The 5th member is a Gaul, towering and quiet, with strange blue ink across his chest. Training begins with formations. You stand side by side, shields overlapping. Historians have long debated how much formal military technique was taught in gladiator schools. You learn to march as one, advance in 3 steps, stop, shield up, duck, counter, rotate. Each move must happen in sync. The afternoon brings partner drills. This time not with weapons, but with movement. A quirky note from Roman graffiti once described gladiator drills as dancing with knives while blindfolded. Felix watches you from across the yard. He nods once, a small sign. You're improving. Later, during a brief water break, Remus leans over you, train until your legs cramp, until your ears ring. Dinner tastes the same, barley, bread. That night, back in the cell, something changes. The space feels less like a cage. Marius tells a story about his first fight. He does not smile. He describes the heat. Instinct takes over, he says, and instinct is loud, you'll see. You lie down, hearing the quiet breathing of your group. Historians still argue whether true camaraderie ever existed among gladiators. You do not know what kind of bomb this is. You wake to the sound of footsteps. Not the usual heavy boots of guards, but the softer, quicker steps of someone else. A figure in a brown tunic appears in the doorway, holding a basket of cloth and a set of small clay pots. You rise, sore and half-dressed, and follow the group to a shaded corner of the yard. This, apparently, is your appointment with the only person in the Ludus who won't hit you on purpose. It's the medicus, the camp healer. He inspects your hands first. The blisters are raw and open. He TSKs quietly, then opens a pot filled with thick green paste. This one has a foul odor, like vinegar and rotting flowers. The medic cleans it with wine and presses cobwebs into the wound. Yes, cobwebs. Roman medicine prized them for their supposed healing properties. His shoulders are broad, his beard white, and his left eye missing. He wears a fine wool cloak and carries a wooden staff shaped like a gladius. He looks at the group like a farmer inspecting livestock. Historians still argue whether this was effective or just desperate improvisation. He tells of the days when the arena was new, when the sand still smelled of fresh-cut cedar and the emperor himself watched from above. Not the training, but the panic. The roar of 30,000 voices, the feel of blood soaking into your sandals. Lupercus seems like the teaching type, or maybe just the kind who doesn't want to be forgotten. It is not the blade that kills you, he says. It's the pause, that moment when you freeze. That's when they find your throat. Either way, it looks horrible, and Gaius does not look pleased. The green salve has dried and cracked, but the pain is less. Felix is silent, as always. Marius stares at the ceiling. The bruises still bloom across your side, but they throb instead of stab. About the crowd. About not looking up. Even Remus, usually bored by speeches, watches with a kind of quiet respect. He applies it with a strip of old linen, wrapping it tight across your chest. His hands are quick, efficient, but not gentle. He talks of a man who fought blind, of another who would not die until his third spear. He tells you that the crowd loves courage, yes, but it cheers louder for agony. His good eye scans your face. He taps your shoulder once with the wooden gladius. Don't look up when you fight, he says. The gods aren't coming. It smells like garlic and ash. He smears it across your palms. It burns. You nod politely, even though you understand maybe half of what he says. The others are the same. Something about Lupercus's visit has sunk in. The way he spoke. The way he limped. The fact that he survived long enough to sit and talk, rather than rot beneath the arena. His Latin is quick and clipped, full of medical terms that may as well be curses. The Lanista steps in behind him and barks a list of names. Yours is among them. The medicus, a middle-aged man with a sharp nose and permanent frown, gestures for you to sit on a stool made from a cracked amphora. He moves to your ribs next. You wince when he presses. No fractures, but the bruising is deep. Another jar is opened. You notice Gaius nearby, his stitched brow oozing slightly. It's the closest thing to kindness you've received all week. The medicus mumbles about diets and water and sleeping on your back. Once finished, he hands you a strip of dried fig and sends you away. But the visit to the medicus is not the end of today's novelty. After lunch, the Lanista calls the trainees together and announces a rare honor. A retired champion is visiting the Ludus. A man named Lupercus. Once the pride of the arena, now old and stiff, but still sharp-eyed and full of stories. Lupercus arrives on a litter, carried by 2 tired slaves. He speaks slowly, clearly, and with more patience than the Lanista ever shows. He describes his first fight. You listen. Everyone does. Lupercus speaks of rivals, of champions, of cowards, and of killers. He does not sugarcoat it. You are here to suffer, he says. Make it look good. A quirky historical account suggests some retired gladiators became instructors, while others opened taverns or sold charms made from their broken weapons. Before he leaves, he walks down the line of trainees. He stops at you, and then he's gone. That evening, as the sun falls and dinner is served, you sit quieter than usual. Back in the cell, you unwrap your palms. Deus lies beside you, already snoring. Remus mutters something about his shoulder. You remember Lupercus's words about the pause. You decide if the time ever comes, you'll look straight ahead. The days begin to blur together. Drills, sparring, meals, sleep, repeat. Your body hardens, not with pride, but with habit. The pain is still there, but dulled like a song you've heard too many times to notice anymore. Then, without warning, the Lanista announces a parade. Not practice gear, not dull-edged blades. These are the showpieces, bronze helmets with crests, painted shields, plumes dyed in deep red. Some are polished to a shine. Others are scarred but proud. You and the others are marched into a staging area where racks of armor gleam under a canvas awning. Not to you, but to someone of roughly your size who may already be dead. The Lanista begins assigning kits. You are handed a heavy set of greaves, a leather cuirass painted with a stylized boar. The crowd enjoys seeing its warriors up close before they shed blood. It gives them something to bet on. And a gladius with a pommel shaped like an eagle's head. The helmet is oversized and crested, with only narrow eye slits. You walk in formation. Eyes forward, helmet on. You become a statue that sweats and blinks. He holds a torch and chants something in Latin older than the street itself. Behind him, slaves carry offerings, fruit, wine, and in one case, a live chicken. The air smells of dust, olives, and roasted meat. Too much blood invites divine attention, and not all of it is kind. People cheer. Not just nobles, commoners, children, elderly men waving half-empty wine cups. Women toss flower petals. You lower yourself slowly, careful not to let the armor shift too far. The priest invokes Mars, then Jupiter, then Nemesis. You recognize none of the words, but the rhythm is familiar. You lay it next to you, the helmet at your feet like a silent dog. The painted boar on your cuirass stares at the ceiling. The priest draws a line of red chalk across the helmets of each kneeling gladiator. You are marched around its base before being funneled back toward the ludus. The guards watch closely, some smile. Others yawn. Were they proud? Resigned? Terrified? Maybe all three at once. You brush them off and prepare to walk again. Your feet blister again, rubbed raw inside boots not designed for this much movement. Your knees ache, but the crowd keeps cheering. Some throw coins. One hits Gaius in the chest. He does not flinch. A few yell out names of gladiators they hope will win. You ask no questions. You are told this will be your appearance in the next public display. Not a fight, a march, a spectacle. You suit up. The armor is stiff but tailored. The gate opens. Bright sunlight floods in. You squint as your boots hit the cobbled street. Your neck is sore from the weight of the helmet. You dream of faces in the crowd, pointing, guessing, judging. Gladiators were paraded like trophies, living proof of Rome's control, discipline, and entertainment value. The shield bounces slightly on your arm. Sweat runs down your back in rivers. A child throws a fig at your leg. It bounces harmlessly, but Remus pretends to lunge, and the child shrieks with laughter. Some festivals lasted days, and the parades wound through nearly every neighborhood. You do not hear your name. Not yet. Historians describe these marches as essential propaganda. As you walk, your armor clinks in rhythm with your steps. You are not allowed to speak. A priest appears at the head of the column. At the temple steps, you stop. The priest gestures for the gladiators to kneel. It is meant to bless you. It feels more like being marked. A fringe belief held that gladiators were cursed by the gods as often as they were blessed. After the blessing, the parade continues. You walk for hours. You reach the Colosseum just before sundown. Its massive walls loom like a hungry beast. That night, you are allowed to keep the armor in your cell, a privilege or a burden. Gaius rolls over. Do you think they'll remember us? You pause. Only if we die well? He laughs once. That's what I'm afraid of. You do not sleep deeply. Your legs twitch with the memory of marching. Historians still debate how deeply gladiators understood their role as public symbols. You wake to find the flower petals still stuck to the edge of your armor. You wake with your armor still beside you. The boar emblem stares up at you like it's judging your courage. The barley goes down dry, but you barely taste it. There's a tension in the air, thicker than the morning fog that still clings to the yard. Your body aches from the parade, but there's no time to wallow. Today's combat review: real matches, no more wood. No more drills. The Lanista has summoned a visiting sponsor to observe. You eat quickly. Your group is summoned early. Marius, Felix, Gaius, Remus, and you. All 5 of you are assigned to a full-speed duel set, one-on-one, rotation style. The visitor will watch from the shaded gallery. He wears a purple-trimmed toga and carries a cup of wine. His face says boredom. His eyes say money. Your first match is with Remus. You can't hear the words, but you see the man point to 3 of you. A guard writes something down. Marius sharpens his gladius with a whetstone so aggressively it looks like he's angry at it. You're shown exotic tools: a net weighted with iron, a curved dagger, a hooked spear. The dummy swings back. It knocks you square in the jaw. You don't fall, but your ears ring. You're told that sometimes the sponsor selects not just who fights, but how. You stand in the sand, armored and armed. The gladius in your hand feels heavier than usual. Not because of weight, but because of the weight of watching eyes. The Lanista shouts the signal: begin. You try to imagine fighting without strategy. You fail. You grunt. He hisses. You both sweat. He calls forward the 3 names he liked best. Yours is one of them. You are offered the chance to fight in an upcoming minor match. What they know for certain is that most gladiators began with them, and that even these could turn fatal with the wrong swing. About Remus's rhythm, Marius's weight, your own fear. Not life or death, a warm-up for betting. A low-tier spectacle. You move cautiously. Remus swings low. You block, step back. You try a feint. He does not fall for it. Your blades scrape. Your shields clash. This is 2 men trying not to embarrass themselves in front of someone who might decide their fate. The trainer nods, surprised. Few can fight ambidextrously. You make a mental note. Use that if you're ever desperate. This is not theater. Historians agree that pre-arena fights often served as auditions. Those who fought with flair earned better placements, sometimes even crowd favor before ever entering the Colosseum. Some were scouted like athletes, others ignored and forgotten. Your bout ends after 3 minutes. The Lanista calls a halt. The visitor claps once. It is enough. You manage to land a single clean strike to his thigh. He smiles and slams you with his shield. You fall. The match ends there. Next is Gaius against Felix. The young one is fast, but the old one is ruthless. Felix uses his shield like a hammer. Gaius goes down twice before managing a low strike that impresses everyone. Even Felix gives him a nod. You fight again, this time against Marius. He hits harder than anyone you've faced. Each blow sends shockwaves through your arm. Later, during a short break, the Lanista speaks to the visitor. Lunch is quiet. The food is the same, but the mood is not. Gaius stares at the dirt. Remus eats quickly. Felix hums to himself. In the afternoon, you're called to a special weapons session. You are handed a short curved blade and told to practice against a moving dummy. A quirky detail from one arena inscription mentions a gladiator who fought using twin hammers and was known for never blocking, only bellowing and charging. Your arm grows tired. You switch hands. That evening, the sponsor returns. You nod. It is not a choice. Historians still argue whether these minor matches were truly safer or just shorter. You return to your cell. The armor is gone, taken for polishing. The room feels emptier without it. Gaius pats your shoulder. You're getting fast, he says. You smile slightly. It feels real. You lie on your back and think about the fight you didn't win, but you were chosen. And in this world, that is survival. You wake early, earlier than usual. No shout from a guard. No clang of a gate. Just your eyes opening in the darkness, your heartbeat steady but louder than it should be. Today is your first real match. Not a death match, not yet, but a public fight with real stakes, real blades, real blood. The sun hasn't risen, but the Lanista is already at the door. He says nothing, just points. You get up, your joints stiff, your chest tight. The others stir but do not speak. They know what today means. Your arena name, the one chosen for you. It is meant to sound heroic or threatening. You try to pronounce it in your head, but it does not feel like yours. You are taken to the dressing chamber. It smells like oil, leather, and nerves. A slave helps you into your armor. The cuirass with the boar emblem again, your helmet, your greaves, the gladius. The weight is familiar now. Heavy, yes, but part of you. Every face blurred, but somehow you feel all their eyes, their hunger. You sit while a scribe writes your name on a tablet, not your real name. Auriciarius. Lightly armored, quick, and skilled at keeping distance. Shield and gladius. Your role is to chase, to close the distance, to strike. The scribe says it will be announced when you enter. You nod. It changes nothing. Outside, the arena begins to hum. You hear voices, hundreds of them, soon thousands. The Colosseum fills slowly. The vendors shout about wine, olives, honey cakes. Across the arena, your opponent appears. The sun rises over the wall like a torch lit too early. It lands behind you. You charge. The Lanista gathers the morning fighters. You're one of the first. You stand with 5 others behind a heavy wooden gate. You hear the creak of pulleys. The scrape of sand being raked. It's not deep, but it's real. Blood darkens his leg wrap. He stumbles. You follow. You strike again. You see the priest bless the entrance with a pinch of salt and wine. A guard hands you a skin of water. You drink, then pour some down your neck. It runs cold down your spine. A trumpet sounds. The gate opens. Light, roar, sand. He twists. You nearly drop the weapon. You walk into the Colosseum. He trips. The sand gives under his heel. He falls hard, the trident clattering from his hand. Some evidence suggests the fighters knew certain moves to entertain. Others say every match had the risk of death. Historians estimate the Colosseum could hold over 50,000 people. Today, it feels like more. They rise like waves above you. The announcer reads your name, not your name, the name they gave you. The crowd cheers politely. You step forward. He is taller than you, broader, with a net coiled at his hip and a trident in hand. You are a secutor today, heavy armor. Small eye slits, the trumpet sounds again. He circles. You raise your shield. He throws the net. You duck. It stings, but it feels like victory. Another lands at your feet. You lower your blade slightly, waiting for the signal. The net flies past, misses your shoulder by inches. He lunges with the trident. You block with your shield. It scrapes but doesn't pierce. You swing low. He jumps back. Sand kicks up in your face. You blink, feel it in your mouth. It smells of sweat and sand. You do not clean it, not deeply, but enough to remind you of what you are now. The crowd cheers louder. He spins the trident, aims again. You sidestep and close in. Your gladius slashes across his thigh. He growls, swings wildly. You block again, then shove with your shield. This time, he catches your blade with the shaft of his trident. Historians still argue whether early matches like this were staged or partially choreographed. You believe the latter. You twist your gladius free and jab forward. He ducks. You feel the trident scrape your shoulder, a shallow cut. Pain, but no panic. You reset, breathe. Then it happens. You raise your sword, the crowd screams. The lanista lifts his hand. Not yet. Your opponent scrambles backward. Blood smears the sand. The referee gestures. The bout is over. You won. Not a kill, but a win. The crowd claps, scattered at first, then stronger. Coins fly from the stands. One hits your shield. You nod once and back away. Your chest is heaving, your fingers numb. You are escorted out through the opposite gate. Not through the tunnels of death, but back to the Ludus. Still breathing, still alive. Later, in the medicus's corner, the cut is cleaned with wine. Felix pats your arm. Not bad, he says, gaze beams. You moved fast. Remus nods once. Don't drop your guard next time. Marius just grins and tosses you a piece of dried meat. One down, he says. You eat it slowly, your stomach still tight. That night, you sit in your cell, holding your helmet in your lap. You stare at the blood on your blade. Not yours. You are a number. Then a trainee. Then a name. Now you are something else. You are a gladiator. The morning after your first match arrives with a strange calm. No shouting, no drills, no marching in circles under the sun. Instead, you are told to bathe. A slave leads you and several others through a stone corridor to the baths. The steam curls from behind a door. When it opens, you feel warmth for the first time in weeks. Not sun, not sweat. Just warmth, clean and quiet. You undress slowly. Your muscles protest every movement. The bruises on your ribs are turning from black to yellow. The cut on your shoulder is bandaged, but still tender. Inside, the balneum is lit by shafts of soft light. The air smells of oil and mineral salts. You lower yourself into the water and exhale. It is almost too hot. Then it is perfect. The pain, still there, but quieter. A distant drum instead of a scream. You're not sure about happiness, but you feel more human than yesterday. Not new, but soft. You dress slowly, as if dressing for a different role. For a moment, the noise of the Colosseum fades. You are just a body in water. The lanista hands you a folded scroll. It's not addressed to you by name. Just your arena title. The strigil drags across your skin like a whisper of your old life. Dirt and dead skin roll off in gray curls. Your armor never reached these places, neither did your shame. Short bursts of shield work, no full sparring. The lanista keeps his voice low. Everyone is tired, not just you. He speaks directly to each of you, asking questions that feel more like riddles. You close your eyes. He dips one toe in, winces, then eases down slowly. Something to make death feel like less of a surprise. Marius appears last, tossing his bandage in the trash pile and stepping in like it's a freezing river. He hisses but smiles. But instead you say, I believe in preparation. Feels like punishment, he mutters, but in a nice way. This is the best part, he says. They make sure you don't die before they're done using you. Felix is already submerged to his neck. He lifts one arm lazily and gestures at the tiled ceiling. Gaius sits on the edge, legs dangling. His brow still has a scar. You suspect both. A god that watches from the top rows still demands good seats. Remus soaps his arms without a word. He has a long pink scar down his back you've never noticed before. Your hands no longer shake when you lift the spoon. You stay there for what feels like hours. The soreness begins to loosen. Marius lies on his back, arm behind his head, eyes closed but not asleep. A fringe historical theory claims some gladiator schools allowed weekly baths not for hygiene but morale. Happy fighters lasted longer, or at least performed better. After the bath, you are rubbed with oil and scraped clean by a slave. You are handed clean linen, just of the sand, the blade, the heat, the noise. Back at the Ludus, you are called aside. Inside, a simple message. A sponsor has requested you by name for an upcoming event. No details, no opponent listed. Just a date. You show it to Marius. He grins. That's good, he says. Or terrible. Hard to know yet. The day continues with light drills, basic footwork. The afternoon brings a change. A priest visits, not the same one from the parade. This one is older. His robes are plainer. Do you fear death? He asks Remus. Remus shrugs. Do you believe in fate? He asks you. You pause. You want to say no. The priest nods. Same thing sometimes. He blesses your gladius with a circle of chalk. He does the same for the others. Not magic. Not protection. A ritual. Historians still argue whether these blessings held religious meaning or were just part of the show. Evening comes. Dinner is warm barley, a sliver of fish, and a piece of fig. You eat slowly. The cell is quiet tonight. Gaius hums a tune under his breath. Felix sharpens a blade with no edge. Remus speaks. If you die, what do you want them to remember? No one answers immediately. Then Gaius whispers that I wasn't afraid. Felix mutters that I lasted longer than they expected. Marius grins that I smiled when I shouldn't have. Remus turns to you, and you think, not of your real name, not of your arena name, that I fought like I meant it. Remus nods. Good enough. You fall asleep to the sound of quiet breathing, your gladius leaning against the wall beside you. Tomorrow you train again, but tonight you rest. The day of your next match comes without a whisper. No fanfare, no dramatic trumpet. Just the quiet nudge of a guard at dawn and the cold realization that you are already dressed before you even open your eyes. This time the air smells different. Less of dust, more of blood and iron. You pass other cells. Some are empty. Others contain animals. The boar is still there, still staring, still daring you to survive. Your fingers are steady. That surprises you. You hear the low growl of something big behind a grate. You don't look. He's a man with rings on every finger and a voice like honey poured over gravel. He does not speak to you. He speaks about you. Loudly to the others. But you feel it settle in your chest like a stone. You are not invisible anymore. You are a bet. You follow a group of fighters through the tunnels beneath the Colosseum. At the preparation chamber, you're handed a gladius again. Your armor is the same. One has a curved blade. Another holds a mace. The third wears a helmet with no eye holes, only slits. That one makes you nervous. You could be the best swordsman alive, but if you miss the third man circling behind, you die with your perfect stance intact. The sponsor arrives, the one who requested you. You return your focus just in time to see the mace aimed at your knee. This one moves like smoke, he says. Quick feet, watch him. You do not smile. You do not react. The impact numbs your entire arm, but your feet are steady. The next minutes blur into noise, movement, heat. Remus disarms his man. Felix takes a shoulder hit but stays upright. The helmeted fighter takes one step too far, and Remus slams his shield into his chest. He falls. Hard. You counter with a stab. Not fatal, but deep enough to bleed. The gate creaks. You sidestep again. Your opponent lunges. Too slow. You duck and swipe his leg. He stumbles. You press forward. You enter with the others. Today's match is a mock skirmish. Match over. A slap on the arm. A nod. That's enough. Shield raised. Feet light. Gladius ready. You pair off with the fighter holding the mace. He's slower, but every swing could crack bone. The medic grumbles that you all fight like oxen in heat. You barely hear him. You dodge, jab, dodge again. Your blade slices fabric, not skin. Yet, 3 versus 3. No theme, no costumes, just fighters. You see Remus among them, Felix too. Gaius waits by the wall, not selected. Your opponents wear mismatched armor. You line up. The trumpet sounds. The sand flies. Your first move is instinct. Behind you, Remus growls. Felix grunts. The sound of metal on metal drowns out the cheers. He swings blindly. It connects with your shield. Historians believe that these group matches tested awareness as much as skill. You hear Felix shout, You risk a glance. He's locked blades with the icelet helmet. Remus is pushing his opponent toward the wall. You jump, barely. The sand sprays. You swing low. Your blade catches his thigh. This time it sticks. He drops. The referee signals. The mace fighter rolls away, out of combat. Now it's 3-on-2. Your team closes in. The crowd claps. Not wildly, but with interest. Then the final blow lands. You don't deliver it, but you watch it happen. The trumpet sounds. You breathe. You're not dead. The sponsor claps slowly. He smiles at you. Fast, he says again. Later, back in the tunnels, your arm is packed with cool mud to soothe the bruise from the shield impact. Back in the cell, the others congratulate you without words. That night, the Lanista enters. He carries a scroll. He reads it aloud. You've been promoted. You're now part of the active combat rotation. This is not practice. Not exhibition. From now on, every fight is real. You sleep with your sword beside you, unsheathed. Just in case. Morning drills feel different now. You are not training for a possible fight. You're training for the next one. The certainty changes everything. Each motion is sharper. Each bruise matters more. Block, sidestep, counter, step back. The Gladius sings when it strikes his shield. You grin. He grins back. The Lanista no longer shouts. He watches. He observes. He takes notes as if you are a horse he plans to sow. You learn not to flinch under that gaze. It is not personal. It is professional death management, not in the arena. In Gaul, he was just a farmer, he says. Wrong place, wrong flag. Then he shrugs. Same as us. You spar with Remus. The rhythm is faster now. Your feet remember better than your mind. See? You're learning, he says. Deus shows you how to patch a sandal with thread pulled from your own sleeping mat. These are things no one teaches unless they expect you to be around for a while. You are. Later you clean weapons with Marius. He tells you about his first kill. You nod. It makes sense. Terrible sense. Felix teaches you how to fold a tunic so it dries faster. That evening you receive new gear, a finer belt, a custom-fitted greave. Small things, but they mean status. Some records show letters written by them, asking family not to mourn if they fell. Others showed detailed battle plans drawn by hand. A strange blend of resignation and professionalism. One quirky note in a Gladiator's graffiti from Pompeii reads, like the last bite of something important. They gave me silver trim before the match. I knew I'd earned it, or I was about to die. You wonder which applies to you? That night, Ballistel holds a speech. Rare. He gathers the active fighters. There are 12 now. You sit in the dirt while he stands with a torch in one hand. You fight tomorrow, he says, in front of a senator's family. Their son wants entertainment. You are the entertainment. They call him Octavian the Bone Catcher. He has 20 matches. 14 wins, 3 draws, 3 deaths, no losses. No one speaks. If you win, you rise. If you lose, you do not return. Still silence. Remember, he says, they paid to see a show. So give them one. Not exactly, but in preparation. You go over every match in your head, every mistake, every success. You count your breaths. You stretch. You hold your sword and practice a silent block until your arms ache. You lie awake that night, not in fear. He salutes with the confidence of someone who has never had to beg. Historians still argue whether gladiators truly accepted their fate or simply had no better option. You wake before the guards, dress in darkness, eat the same barley, drink the same bitter wine, but it tastes different. Today's match is a duel. One opponent, announced by name, introduced by rank. He is a Richarius again, but not like before. This one is experienced. You've heard of him. You are the underdog. You do not tell the others. The sponsor from before is there again. He nods at you. He offers no advice, just a glance that says, you owe me a performance. You step into the sand. The sun is high. The seats are full. The trumpet sounds. Octavian enters. His net is gold-threaded. His trident gleams. You do not salute. You raise your blade. A gust of sand blinds your left eye for a second. The crowd loves that. You circle. He twirls the net lazily, like a fisherman with time to waste. Then he throws. You duck, block, step forward. Too slow. The trident catches your shoulder. Not a cut. A scrape, but enough to remind you. He is faster. You press anyway. Close distance. Swing wide. He retreats. You follow. He spins. You blank. He strikes. You twist your shield up. The trident bounces. You lunge. Your gladius catches his thigh. Blood. He grins. You're not boring, he says. You grit your teeth. He circles again. You breathe. This is not practice. This is survival. The wound on his leg is shallow, but it bleeds enough to give you a moment. You reposition. Step back. Let him come to you. He feints with the trident, then flicks the net, trying to snare your ankle. You jump, just high enough. Octavian smiles as he twirls the net again, testing the weight, judging the distance. The sand shifts beneath your feet as you sidestep, always keeping your shield between him and your ribs. You strike low. He leaps back, nimble despite the bleeding leg. The crowd whistles. They love this, the give and take. The rhythm of death performed like a dance. You circle again. Nice footwork, he calls out. Were you a dancer before this? You don't answer. You grip your sword tighter. You slide your foot forward. The blade flicks out. It finds the flesh just above his elbow. A stripe of red blooms. He lunges. You block. The impact jars your shoulder, but your stance holds. Still not fatal. Still not enough. You are burning energy faster than you expected. Historians note that veteran gladiators rarely aimed for quick kills. Not because they hesitated, but because the longer the match, the bigger the reaction. The more the crowd roared, the more sponsors returned. You now understand this fully. But you also understand fatigue. Your arms are slower. Your calves tremble slightly as you step back. Octavian notices. He presses. He throws the net again. This time it catches your leg, tight. Your balance falters. You stagger. You yank, pull, slash with your blade. The mesh gives way. You free your leg and roll aside. It misses your neck by inches but clips your helmet. A ringing glass fills your ears. The trident comes. You twist. You drop to one knee. The crowd gasps. Your hand fumbles for the edge of the net. Octavian is already on you again. You raise your shield in time. His toga is too clean. His father sits beside him, wine cup resting on a fat belly. The trident strikes. Again. Again. Your shoulder throbs with each hit. You jab. A lucky hit. The blade cuts the inside of his forearm. He stumbles. You scramble to your feet. You're both breathing hard now. No words. Just the sound of metal scraping and lungs heaving. A boy in the front row claps wildly. He can't be more than 10. You and Octavian circle each other once more. The net is gone. Now it is just trident and sword. He faints. You fall for it. The trident cuts your thigh. Deep. You cry out. Not a scream. But enough. The heat of blood spills into your boot. It slicks the sole. You adjust your weight. Octavian grins again. Still standing? He asks. You grit your teeth. You are, but barely. He jabs again. You sidestep. Swing. Your sword bites into his trident shaft. It snaps. Half of the weapon flies. The crowd explodes. He stares at the broken haft in his hand, then at you. You don't wait. You close the distance. Your shield slams into his chest. He falls backward. You step over him. You raise your sword. He doesn't sound angry, only tired. He does not move. The crowd quiets. You look at the editor. The official seated in the velvet curtain box. He watches you. raises his palm, flat, horizontal. Mercy. You lower your blade. Octavian lies still, panting, his chest rising fast but steady. His eyes never leave yours. You got me, he says. You nod once. The trumpet sounds. Your leg aches, your hands are blistered. The others do not ask questions. They saw it all. You walk away. Your leg bleeds. Your helmet rings. But you are upright, alive. Back in the holding room, the sponsor claps slowly. Well, he says, I didn't bet on you, but I will next time. You do not reply. A slave helps peel off your armor. You sit in silence as your thigh is bandaged. Later that night, you are back in the cell. Gaius gives you his fig ration. Good show, he says. Remus nods. You're one of us now. You fall asleep without dreams. Only the echo of that broken trident in your ears. Your leg heals slowly. Every step reminds you of the duel. The pain fades, but never vanishes. It lingers like a whisper in the bone, a warning from the past to never move too late again. The next days are quieter. You are given time to recover. The drills are light. The food is better. The Lanista watches you differently now, less like a number, more like an investment. You help younger recruits train. One of them asks how it feels to win. You pause. It hurts, you say. They laugh, thinking it's a joke. You don't correct them. Felix lets you borrow a wool scarf for cold mornings. Gaius gives you a carved wooden token, an eagle, roughly shaped. For luck, he says. Or a distraction. Remus teaches you to wrap your leg tighter before matches. One morning, you wake to find Octavian back in the ludus. He walks with a limp. His arm is stitched tightly. He nods to you once. Others suggest bitterness endured beyond the arena. Your nod says everything you need. You nod back. Neither of you says a word. Historians still argue whether friendships between rivals were common or rare. Some gravestones show gladiators buried side by side. The next match is a showcase, not for victory, for skill. You are paired with Marius. You are both told not to kill. The crowd wants elegance, flourishes, technique. You agree before stepping into the sand. No face strikes, no blood if avoidable, and you both get to walk away. The trumpet sounds. You begin. You shout to keep the rhythm. Marius grins like a fox in a vineyard. Truly, when Marius knocks your sword from your hand, you flip backward and draw your dagger. You know how to fight, he says. But more important, you know how to lose in a way that wins. The children scream with delight. The old men lean forward. Wine spills. Coins fly. The bruises on your ribs form new shapes. Your leg still aches, but less. It is a dance. Your blades meet like chimes. Your shields hum as they connect. You move in circles, mirrored. Step, turn, lunge, block. The crowd loves it. They cheer more for close calls than for hits. In the final exchange, you both fall, exhausted, each holding the other's weapon. The trumpet blows. A draw. The editor laughs. Enough, he says. That's the art of it. You bow. Marius bows deeper, then winks at the front row. Later, the Lanista gives you both a nod. That night, you lie on your mat and stare at the ceiling. You remember the first night here. The fear, the silence, the unknown. Now you know. You know pain. You know timing. You know mercy. You know how to fight for a crowd without losing your soul. You are not free. But you are not forgotten. And in this world that may be enough. You breathe deeply. Your chest rises slowly, falls gently. The sounds of the ludus fade into soft rustling. A laugh, a yawn. The flicker of a torch outside the cell. Sleep comes easily now. Not because you feel safe, but because you understand the shape of danger. It has rules. It has rhythm. And tonight, it rests with you. The sand cools beneath your back. Your arms feel lighter now, no sword to carry. The torches flicker in the halls, painting the walls in soft orange. You let your eyes drift closed. In the distance, footsteps echo softly, not with threat, but with rhythm. Familiar, predictable. You hear Marius snore. Gaius hums a lullaby from somewhere near the door. Even Octavian's breath moves like waves. In and out, steady. Your muscles relax. The ache in your leg fades into the background. You feel your heartbeat slow, each pulse softer than the last. The sharp world of sand and blood dulls to velvet shadows and gentle air. The night settles in full. You don't need to watch the ceiling anymore. It's not going anywhere. And neither are you. Not for now. You think of the sun above the arena, of the roar of strangers, and the sudden hush before the final strike. But here in this cell, with dust and warmth and silence, there is no need to strike anything. Just breathe. Tomorrow may come with a fight, but tonight it only brings sleep, and sleep is enough.